Hello students, today we are going to discuss the topic related to the psychology, that is the 4th sem psychology topic. The topic name is levels of intellectual disability. I am P.B. Raju, working as a psychologist in a government organization. I am also a research person in this university, that is B.R. Ambedkar Open. You are all inviting to this topic. So here first of all we will discuss the intelligence. What is intelligence? The term intelligence commonly means the brain power or mentally ability. Human intelligence refers to the mental quality that consists to learn. If you want to learn something, you need to have some intellectual aspects. That is the intelligence. It indicates general mental alertness, problem solving capacity and the ability to learn from our experiences. Intelligence has been defined as the total ability of the individual to act purposefully, rationally thinking and to do effectively with his environment. That means intelligence is the power of individuals on his problem solving capacity, judging capacity, think rationally and logically. So that is intellectual. Now we will discuss the disability. What is disability? Disability is a permanent or partial impairment in one of the physical, sensory, communicative, educational or psychological. Disability is the experience of any condition that makes it more difficult for a person to do certain activities. That means the person activities, if you want to do, the individual want to do some activities, he needs to have some sort of intelligence. Yeah, disability is a permanent or partial impairment of a person's, whether he is able to do certain activities or not. For example, problem solving solution, judgmental capabilities, logical. So whether he or she is in a position to solve their problems logically, rationally, that is the intellectual aspects. So disability is not in a position to do those activities that we are expecting from an individual. That is for problem solving capabilities, intellectual abilities, rational thinking, logical thinking. These are the activities he or she is in a position to expect. We are expectation from the individual that he is supposed to or she is supposed to do some activities of their intellectuals. But the person who is having intellectual disability, so the term intellectual disability means he or she is not in a position to functioning of their actual activities. So the functionings of their real activities, daily activities, they are not in a position to think in a logical way. They are not in a position to solve their problems on their own. That is intellectual ability. It is a condition characterized by significant limitations in both intellectual functioning and adaptive behavior that organized before. So if you want to do some organization of activities, the person who is having some intellectual disability, he or she is maybe not in a position to functioning their activities. So intellectual disabilities occurs when a person has difficulty in general mental abilities. The mental abilities may be intellectual functioning, maybe practical functioning, social functioning, or maybe understanding the source. For example, social functioning. So if the person is in a position, if he is in a position to mingle with social activities, if he or she is not in a position to mingle with other members in the group, that means his social functioning is not up to the mark. So that is the problem of social functioning. Some sort of that is people, some sort of individuals, their logical thinking is not up to the mark. For example, if he is a 10 years student, the general expectation of 10 years student or 10 years boy is he has to mingle with other children in the classroom, in the group activities. Maybe the activities may be collaborative activities, the activities may be some sort of cooperative activities in his class. But because of his social issues, he is not in a position to mingle with other children in the group, other children in the classroom. That is his social functioning is not up to the mark because he is having some intellectual disability. Intellectual capabilities are lacking. That is the reason he is not in a position to function in a proper manner. Maybe logical thinking, his practical functionings, intellectual functionings, social functionings is not up to the mark. That is the reasons of his intellectual disability, or because of his intellectual disability, he is not in a position to mingle with other members, other classmates in the group. So now we will discuss the levels of intellectual disability. So actually these intellectual disability is based on the assessment of IQ, that is intelligence quotient. We know that intelligence quotient, the formula of IQ is mental age divided by chronological age into 100. Based on this IQ formula, we will assess the intellectual abilities or IQ of any individual based on their IQ levels, based on their intellectual capabilities. We will have some sort of intellectual disability. The normal IQ of any individual is between 90 to 110. If his or her IQ is below 110 and above 90, that means 90 to 110 is the normal range of any individual. So if the IQ level is below 70, if it is above 70 and below 90, that is the borderline intellectual capabilities. So we are not supposed to stamp them. That is, if the above 90 or above 70 IQ is there, they are not intellectually disabled. Their IQ is okay, normal or below average, or you can say below normal. So if 90 to 110 is the normal IQ, or you can say average IQ of any individual. If IQ is below 90, if it is above 70, that is the borderline. Maybe it means below average intellectual capabilities of a person. Now the intellectual disability, the levels of intellectual disability, there are 4 categories or 4 classifications of intellectual disability. One is IQ level is, if the IQ level is below 70 and if it is 50 above, that means 50 to 69 is the IQ level of any individual. You can say that disability is the mild intellectual disability. That means if IQ level is between 50 to 69, that disability is known as mild intellectual disability. This is the one level of intellectual disability. Second level of intellectual disability, if the IQ is below 50 and above 35, that means if IQ level is between 35 to 49, that is moderate intellectual disability. The third level of intellectual disability means IQ level is above 20, if it is below 34, that is severe intellectual disability. Severe intellectual disability level is, the IQ level is between 20 to 34, it is severe intellectual disability. The fourth intellectual disability level is that if IQ level is between 0 to 20, that means if it is below 20 and above 0, that is known as the profound intellectual disability. These are the 4 levels of intellectual disability. Now we will discuss each intellectual disability, what are the various aspects of the intellectual disabilities and the various different levels of intellectual disability. Number 1, mild intellectual disability. Here the mild intellectual disability means the IQ is, if the IQ is between 50 to 69, that is mild intellectual disability. In this mild intellectual disability, the development is slow. That means the developmental area is some sort of slow. So there is no any other physical impairment. There is no any unusual physical characteristics of this IQ level. That means first level of intellectual disability. If the individuals are having this type of intellectual disability, that means mild level of intellectual disability. There is no much physical issues within this particular group or within this particular individuals of mild intellectual disability. They are able to mingle with society, other members in the group. Socially, there is okay, but functionings also, in daily activities functionings also, it's normal up to some extent of this particular disability level. That means mild intellectual disability. Their reading, their that is practical skills is up to the arithmetic level. Reading, writing, practical skills is up to the 6th level, or you can say 6th standard. Their understanding capacity, their logical thinkings, their practical aspects, reading and arithmetic is up to the age of 11, or you can say 6th grade level. That is usually to social skills for self. They are able to maintain their self activities, self skills, daily activities daily living skill, or you can say activities of daily living. ADLs are common. ADLs are normal within this mild intellectual disabled people, but they need some sort of guidance and some sort of caregiver from the family members or other members in the society. They need some sort of guidance because their intellectual disability is mild intellectual disability. That is the reason they need some sort of guidance from the other members in the family or other members in the society. Usually they will have some sort of social and occasional skills, but they need some sort of guidance, but they have self-support system in this particular mild intellectual disabled people. Second category is moderate intellectual disability. The IQ level of moderate intellectual disability is between 35 to 49. So they can easily noticeable development delay. There are some development delays of this particular group of people, or the individuals those are having moderate intellectual disability. They have some sort of developmental delays. That means speech, motor skills. The motor skills may be both fine motor skills and the gross motor skills not up to the mark. Speech also some sort of delays, means their developmental milestones are not achieved, not attained as the age, or you can say age appropriate milestones are not up to the mark within this moderate intellectual disabled people. Speech is delay, motor delay. Motor means both fine motor and gross motor, both are delay. And their some sort of communication skills are so basic communication skills are there. It may be in that particular group, but simple way. They are not in a position to understand complex communication, or you can say complex instructions they can't understand. If you instruct them simple way, they can understand, they can respond also. But if you give commands of complexity or instructions related to the complex, some sort of multiple instructions, multiple commands, they are not in a position to understand because of their intellectual disability. Self-care, in self-care activities, simple self-care they will complete. They can complete the self-care activities in a systematic, simple way. So they can travel alone nearby place and familiar place also. Moderate intellectual disability means the IQ level is between 35 to 49. They are able to do their activities with some sort of help. Self-care activities they can do, but they can understand the simple instruction. They can't understand the complex or multiple instructions. So better to give simple instructions, or that is simple commands with this particular group. So they can travel nearby place, they can travel familiar places. This is the moderate intellectual disability. Furtherly, they care for simple personal and household needs after extending some. If you provide some guidance, they can do their own activities. They can do the activities with some sort of simple activities, simple personal care and household needs with some sort of guidance. They need some sort of supervision and guidance for managing money, scheduling and all, but simple daily activities only they will be in a position to perform. Need more help with helping, planning, organizing their lives or their needs of communication. Maybe the communication may be verbal or non-verbal. Some sort of help, some sort of guidance is required within this particular group of moderate intellectual disability. The third intellectual disability is severe intellectual disability. The people those are having severe intellectual disability, they need some sort of more caregiving. Their IQ level between 20 to 34. As I mentioned, intellectual disability is based on the IQ levels. I already mentioned the IQ level means mental age divided by chronological age into 100. By doing this calculation of IQ, we will have some ideas, we will have some sort of scores related to their IQ. So if the IQ is between 20 to 34, they are known as the severe intellectual disability, or you can say the severe intellectual disability individuals or people will have the IQ levels between 20 to 34. Always IQ levels, we will explain the IQ levels within some range. As I mentioned, 90 to 110 is the normal IQ level, 70 to 90 is the borderline, or you can say below IQ levels. Then 50 to 69 is the mild intellectual levels, 35 to 49 is the moderate intellectual level, disability level. Then third one is a severe intellectual disability. So the IQ level of this severe intellectual disability is between 20 to 34. So here in this case of intellectual disability, that means severe intellectual disability, considerable, or you can easily notice by their delays. So the delays in development, their milestones are delayed milestones. Their milestones may be speech milestone, maybe social skills, maybe the communication, they be reading, they be writing, all even the ADLs also, activities of daily living also noticeable. You can easily identify, you can easily observe their delays of their, that is developments, delayed development delays. So they can understood their speech, they can understood our speech, but little ability to communicate. They are not in a position, they can understand our speech, they can understand our simple instruction, but they are not in a position to communicate in a systematic way, in a proper way, able to learn daily routine activities only because of their severity of their disability, the third level of disability, of the severe disability. That is the reason they can understand the simple instructions, but they are not in a position to communicate in a systematic way, in a logical way, in a proper way. So their comprehension is very slow. They are not in a position to comprehend, they are not in a position to orient. The comprehension orientation is little but delayed. That is the severe intellectual disability. Their self-care also, very simple self-care. They need more guidance. So more guidance from the caregivers, more guidance from the other members in the group. So they need more caregiving. So they learn very simple self-care. Needs direct supervision in social situation. They need direct supervision. That means every time we need supervise to them. Our supervision is more needed in this case of severe intellectual disabled people. In social situation also, we can't allow them to mingle with other society because of their disability. Always we need to supervise in their social activities. So development is very slow in this case. It is known as, you can say they are dependent. They are dependent on someone. They are dependent on the family member. They are dependent on the siblings. So they can understand simple tasks and limited activity with support. They can do the activities but with some support only. So significant limitation in activities of daily living needs extensive support or self-care like dressing and feeding also. Okay, unable to read and write but can develop some useful self-protection skills in controlled environment. So always we better to keep them in controlled environment. So because we can't allow them to do their own activities on their own, it's not possible. So always they are supposed to be in the controlled environment because of their disabled level. That is, they are having some sort of severe intellectual disability. That is the reason always they need to keep in the controlled environment. In the controlled environment only they will survive. We require support for most daily tasks but maybe contribute partially. So they can contribute but partially. They can't do their activities on their own. Always our support, our caregiving, our supervision is needed of this severe intellectual disability. As I mentioned, their IQ is very low. That means 20 to 34 only. Based on their IQ levels, we will consider them as the severe intellectual disabled, or you can say the people have some sort of severe intellectual disability. That is the reason always our support, always our supervision, always our caregiving is needed to this intellectual disability. For example, if a person having some sort of severe intellectual disability, in their family setup, in their environment, we need to protect them within our family environment. We can't allow them to go on their own because they may not be in a position to go to outside on their own. That is the reason if they want to go some other places, if they want to go some other areas, our supervision, our caregiving, our support is needed. Even for like daily activities also. Daily activities means combing, dressing, buttoning. In all the activities, they can't do their activities on their own. So our supervision, our support is needed of this particular severe intellectual disability. For example, they want to do some work. So always we need to supervise them, whether they are doing the work properly or not. Otherwise, we need to give some sort of support. We need to monitoring the particular case of severe intellectual disability. Even feeding also. They can't take their food. Okay, some support is needed because of their intellectual, as I mentioned, intellectual intelligence means problem solving skills, logical thinking, rationality. So these are all the intellectual aspects. Because of their disability, because of their severe intellectual disability, they are not in a position to do their activities, to solve their problems on their own. That is the reason always be better to keep them in a systematic environment, in the closed environment, the restricted environment. So we have to supervise them in that particular environment. The environment may be classroom environment. For example, if you see this type of people, they need some sort of special arrangements in the classroom. That is the reason we provide special education to these people. Special education means, so the normal people don't need of any special education. If the IQ levels are low, like mild intellectual disability, they need some sort of special methods in their education. That is the reason we appoint the special educators to train up the individuals, those are having some sort of mild intellectual disability. Even moderate intellectual disability also, some sort of special schools, special setups are needed, special educators are needed to train up them. So these type of special needed children, they need some special education. So this type of severe intellectual disabled people also, they can't even learn on their own. That is the reason always some sort of instructions to be given in a systematic way, in a specified way, in a different way. Because they are, we can say nowadays, intellectual disability also known as the different abled persons, different abled people. So different terms are we are using nowadays. Okay, intellectual disability or this different abled people. Why? Their abilities in a different way. Their abilities in not in a normal way. That is the reason abnormal. You can't say normal or abnormal. So these people are not normal. So their intellectual disability is not normal. As I mentioned, normal intelligence capabilities are IQ levels are between 90 to 110. That is the reason these people are not normals. They are abnormal, or you can say intellectual disability. Intellectually, they are having some sort of impairment. That is the disability. So based on their disability, that is the third level of intellectual disability, that is severe intellectual disability. Okay, so in this severe intellectual disability, as I mentioned, we need to be very careful. Mild, it's okay. Mild, okay. Even up to some extent, borderline also okay. Borderline, mild. You can easily train up these both categories of intellectual disabled or intellectually challenged people or persons. But whereas, if the intellectual disability is more, as I mentioned, profound means it is between 35 to 49. So if the IQ levels are between 35 to 49, we need to take care of these particular cases. So here in this case of moderate intellectual disability, we need to have some sort of supervision, caregiving, because of their problem solving skills are low, logical thinking is low, their developmental milestones are not up to the mark. For example, if you take that 10 years age boy, by doing this IQ assessment, if his development age is, for example, 8 years, as his chronological age is 10 years, but his developmental age, by doing some assessments, there are some tools of assessing the IQ. By using the tools, you can easily identify, you can easily calculate the developmental age, or you can say mental age. As I mentioned, the IQ formula is chronological age divided mental age divided by chronological age into 100, MA by CA into 100. Mental age means after assessing that particular case by using some tools, we will have some sort of mental age. We can easily calculating the mental age. So the mental age divided by actual age. Chronological age means actual age into 100. That is the IQ formula. For example, if the child's chronological age is 10 years, after using some tool of IQ, if you find his mental age is 8 years, so 8 years divided by 10 years into 100. Generally, we calculate this years in months. 8 years means 12 into 8. So that is 96 divided by 10 years. That means 96 by 120. Okay. So 12 years are 96. Okay. So here 12 that is 8 years divided by 10 years into 100. So if you have any IQ is below that 90, that means borderline. If it is below 70, that is mild. If it is below 50, that is the moderate. If it is below 35 and above 20 is the intellectual disability, that is severe intellectual disability. So this is a severe intellectual disability. The third level of intellectual disability is the severe intellectual disability. The fourth one is profound intellectual disability. As I mentioned, based on the IQ formula, we will find out the intellectual disability. The fourth category of intellectual disability is the profound intellectual disability. So here in this case of profound intellectual disability, IQ is less than 20. If IQ is below 20, these people's IQ, these children's IQ, these individuals' IQ is below 20, that is known as the profound intellectual disability. In these people, significant development delays. So the development delays are more. As I mentioned, the 10 years boy is chronicle age of the 10 years boy is around it is 10 years. So, but their development age, or you can say mental age, is around 3 years or 4 years. His actual age is, that means chronological age is 10 years. By after assessing their IQ level, after assessing their mental age, if you find this chronological age is 10 years, but the mental age, or you can say development, is around 2 years or 3 years. The actual age is 10 years, but their developmental age, their mental age is only 1 year or 2 years. Got it? So here in this case, if it is 2 years means 24 months, 10 years means 120 months. So 24 divided by 120 months, that is the way. 24 divided by 120 into 100, that is the way of assessing the IQ. If this children's IQ is below 20, so these are known as the profound intellectual disabled people. So here significant development delays, because as I mentioned, their development, their chronological age is 10 years, but their skills, communication skills may be, social skills may be, logical thinking may be, problem solving skills may be very less, very low. So their age is 10 years, but their understanding capacity, their communication, their logical thinking, their rationality, their problem solving is very, very minimal, means around 2 years. So this is the reason, so these people are not in a position to understand on their own. So physical and congenial abnormalities are very significant low. So they always requires close supervision. Always we need to observe them, supervise them, monitoring them very closely, because they are not in a position to do their activities, or you can say activities of daily living, ADLs, not on their own. So requires attendant always. Caregiver is needed, attendant is needed. So to do their activities, some sort of support, significant delay, significant congenial abnormality, that is the reason always we need to supervise them. So even self-care activities also, they are not in a position to do their self-care activities. That is the reason, for example, bathing, dressing, feeding, for every activities they need some support. That is the reason generally in the family members, one family member is always to supervise these children of profound intellectual disability. They may not respond to physical and social activities. Their social activities and physical activities they can't do on their own. They can't mingle with other group in the other members in the group. Okay, not capable of independent living. So independent living also very minimal. So they can't live on their own. Independent living is not possible in this profound intellectual disabled people. Under this category, there is a gross retardation, minimal capacity for functioning their sensory motor areas, motor areas, and their capabilities or the competence are very less. Significant limitations in intellectual functioning and adaptive behavior. They can't adapt to the new situation. Their adaptable capabilities are also very less. They can't they can't adjust to the new environment, new situation. That means adaptive capabilities, their adaptiveness. So they are very minimal adaptable capabilities, adaptive skills. They need continuous supervision and care. Often needs nursing support. In some cases, nursing support is needed. May have very limited participation in self-care. Incapable of, they are not self-made, they are not capable, they are not competent to maintain their self-care. So show basic emotional response to skillful training. By doing some skills, by doing some training, if you provide some sort of training, minimal expectations of the that is response. The response you can't that is expect the response from their own, because of their limited understanding capabilities, because of their limited limited, very minimal logical thinking, problem solving thinking, social skills. So they can't do their activities on their own. That is the reason every time they need support, nursing care, caregiver support, caregivers cooperation, caregivers supervision is needed in this profound intellectual people. Because of their significant development, as I mentioned, the age may be 10 years, the actual age may be 10 years, but their understanding capabilities, their mental age, their understanding capabilities, their mental age is very minimal, means 1 year, 2 years. For example, if you expect the 10 years, that is boys, response is not possible. If you want to respond the 10 years because of their intellectual disability, though his or her age may be 10 years, our expectation may not be up to the mark, but we can't expect the same 10 years response from that particular individuals, from that particular boy or girl. Only 1 year, even if you want to give the instructions also, maybe it may be any intellectual disability, as I mentioned, mild intellectual disability, moderate intellectual disability, severe intellectual disability, profound intellectual disability. When you are giving instructions, always we need to keep in mind their mental age. Their actual age may be 10 years or 12 years, but we can't give the instructions as their normal age, as their chronological age. So always we need to keep in mind. So better to consult a psychologist. They can tell you, they'll instruct you. So his mental age is this much. So always what are the instructions we wanted to give? So we need to give the instructions based on their understanding capabilities. That means mental age. So these are the various levels of intellectual disability. Depending on their intellectual disabilities, we need to give instructions to these intellectual disabled people. That's it. Okay. Thank you.